Hello and welcome to the Invictus Racing League podcast, episode 4. My name is Gareth and I'm joined once again by a good friend Sab. How are you doing, Sab?
Not too bad, thank you. I hope you're well as well. Tonight's going to be really interesting. The big announcements regarding Invictus. It should be an interesting chat this evening.
Yeah, so as Sab just said, guys, it's the big stream tonight, the announcement stream, one that a lot of people will be very interested in. Of course, as you can see on screen at the moment, we've got F1 2019, which means that means one thing is that the league is not far away. So we will try and get onto the Austrian Grand Prix later in the podcast. But for the first half, at least, we will be talking about the league build-up and the setup and the makeup of the leagues over the next few months. And yeah, it's going to be a really exciting season. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, so like I said, what we'll do is we'll run through any major rule changes that we've got, which there will be a few coming to the league for the next season, and then anything from now on. We've got the Invictus donation subscription service that was rolled out this week. We'll go on to the race calendar, which I'm sure everyone is excited to hear about. And of course, we've got the car allocations and the teammates for each league. The 3 days we run: Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So you've got leagues on each of those 3 days. Plenty of stuff to be dealt out with in regards to information. So yeah, welcome to everyone listening to the podcast. If you are watching it live, make sure you drop into the comments, say hi, and let us know your thoughts. It's always good to see you guys chatting. And yeah, we'll kick off with some rule changes coming up. And once again, it'll be Monday nights, no assists. And Sab, looking forward to commentating on this one.
Yes, definitely. If last season's anything to go by, I should say, it should be a really exciting season. Like say, it's got some rule changes and stuff happening in this league. It should make it a lot more interesting. I think with with the likes of Speed Queen and Boy Better Know and a few others who are super fast, we should have such an exciting league on the new game this season. So yeah, I'm very looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
Absolutely, yeah. It's looking like a really decent league. We've got a lot of drivers, and of course, all of our leagues so far completely full. We've got a big reserve list as well, so it's looking very promising. And obviously, the interest for F1 2019 is pretty high at the moment, which is always good to see. It's always nice to see nice and new members in and around the league. So yeah, welcome if you are new and you are watching the stream for the first time, or if you are listening back. Yeah, welcome guys, and we hope you enjoy the evening, you enjoy the stream. So as we're talking about the rules that have slightly changed for the No Assist Championship, we will still have a Tier 1 and a Tier 2 championship. However, this season it won't be based on whether you're using the racing line or not using the racing line. Of course, Tier 1 was always guys on fully no assist, and Tier 2 had the racing line on as they transferred over to fully no assists. This year it will be Tier 1 and Tier 2 will be split up based on your pace. So during pre-season, we will be the admins will be assessing the pace on qualifying, and then equally during the race, and then you will be split into Tier 1 and Tier 2, obviously respective of your pace there, and that's where those two championships will be contested. Of course, you will be involved in the overall championship, so you will still have a Tier 1 and Tier 2 champion, but you still have that overall champion. But one thing we're bringing in this season, and this was under discussion throughout the admin team, is that we want to obviously reward the drivers that are running fully no assists. So there will be extra points in order for those using fully no assists, and of course that promotes these guys that are running no assists to kind of push themselves out of their comfort zone and possibly turn that racing line off. So what will happen for each position that the driver is finishing in with no assist, they will actually gain themselves 4 extra championship points. So obviously for the win, it would be 15 points usually towards the championship, but now it would be 19 for anyone using fully no assist. So you go down through, you've got second place would then go down to 16, third to 14, and then 12, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 respectively down through to 10th position. So it just gives those guys that are running fully no assists a little bit more of an advantage, because obviously they are essentially running the hardest simulation possible. And Sab, it's a good way to kind of incentivize our guys at possibly running the racing line to turn it off and give themselves a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is a good motivation tool, isn't it, to try and push you to that next stage of fully no assist. And it also for the guys who are fully running fully no assist, that they're not feeling like they're being done over, so to speak, a little bit by, say, maybe losing out to somebody who's running the racing line and they're scoring just the same points as them who's running without the racing line. So yeah, it's a good motivation to get people to really get involved in the no assist side and push their limits and see how well they get on with it. I think this is a great idea, especially now the tier 1 and tier 2 is based on pace as well, which makes it even more interesting. So yeah, no assist this season is looking very exciting, especially with these new rule changes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we'll do to verify that is each week those guys that have signed up beforehand to say that they are running fully no assists, we'll have a weighbridge system. So each week, one or two or possibly more drivers will be randomly selected to send in either a video of their entire race or clips of during their race, just to ensure to the admin team that they were running fully no assists. And of course, it's completely random, so drivers won't be picked out if you got one driver doing better than others. It will be completely at random. So yeah, the weighbridge system is probably the best way that we can do it to ensure the validity of these guys. And obviously when it comes to something like saying you're running no assists and getting extra championship points, this is where you've really got to have trust and faith in your community and in your drivers, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And like you say, because it's a completely random pick. It's not like someone could be getting picked on or anything like that, or getting accused of. You know what I mean? It's a very fair system to do it, and like you say, the trust is there from both sides, from the admin side and the driver's side, to be able to have this system running smoothly. And I'm sure with our community, it might take a while for people to get used to the new system, but I think once it's fully up and running, people, especially in the No Assist League, will get used to it, and I think we'll have a good season with them.
Yeah, big time. So yeah, that is the new rule changes for the No Assist League, guys. So Monday nights, 8 p.m. as usual. Sab and I in the commentary box, and you'll see those rule changes coming into effect as soon as the full race calendar starts. On to a few other slight additions and changes to the league is pre-race threads. So obviously all members have always been asked to complete pre-race threads on the site forum. That's obviously to keep your engagement in the league, make sure that you're not just turning up and just driving. You're actually trying to get engaged with the community and give back, and obviously let us know that you're still kind of considering what your implications are of driving in the league. What we're going to look at doing from this season, we're not sure if it's going to come in immediately, but we're definitely going to look to bring it in as soon as possible. Is a system where, much like the weighbridge system, is that we're going to no longer look at mandatory entries to the pre-race threads. So obviously you'll still be encouraged to fill out something along the lines of a thread, but it will just more be like a question. But it will actually be the likes of you'll have maybe one or two people will be allocated each week where they will answer interview questions from the admins, and we'll actually get the members themselves will be able to send in questions, and if there's maybe some right into league rivalries going on that you've got, or someone wants to talk about a specific incident that happened. We think that possibly finding out from a smaller group of people more in depth about how they feel about the race coming up or the race that's just gone might be a nicer way for you all to kind of engage with each other and stay in a positive light heading into the race week. And I think, Sab, it's definitely been something that's been a bit contentious over the last few seasons with pre-race threads, and it's definitely a way to alleviate the pressure of having to get them done.
Yeah, I agree because yeah, I'll admit I've been there a few times in the past when I wasn't on the admin side where I've just felt like I could not be bothered or didn't have the motivation to do it, especially when the life of the game comes towards the end. You can get into that routine, but with this now where you can pick out a couple of people just to ask about, say, their racing or their rival, like you say, the rivalry with another driver and stuff like that. I think it's a good way, and it also it's a more involved way as well because you can get to be able to read what the thoughts of a particular person in your league's thinking and how motivated they are and how they're feeling going into races. So yeah, it's a good way forward, I think, with these race threads.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a positive change. I think a lot of the community might be looking forward to that, and I think it's hopefully it'll be as engaging, and we'll try and get the thoughts put on the website as well. So it'll probably go onto the homepage on a news story each week. So even if you don't manage to catch it, it will be there. You can come back to it. So yeah, it hopefully it will. It will go down quite nicely within the community. So yeah, guys, let us know in the comments if you've got any thoughts about anything we talked about so far. We We'll also be encouraging drivers to do post-race highlights. So if you clip your race, or if you've got any overtakes that you think are particularly good, we've got in the forums area. You have got the paddock area, which we would encourage drivers to start putting some stuff in, whether it's been like I said, a nice overtake or a good battle that you've had with someone, or even just a brief race review that how you thought your race went, or if you saw something happen and you'd like to talk about it. Of course, as long as it's in a positive light and it's obviously not negative towards another member or defamatory, then yeah, that using the paddock area is definitely somewhere that we're looking the guys to kind of step up and use. But moving on from that is now talking about the Invictus, which I said at the start is a new donation support system that we're looking at rolling out over this season and definitely into the next. And we're going to look at improving it over time. Of course, it's now in an almost sort of early access beta style, but it's a support system where we're going to introduce or we're going to look at getting a completely voluntary donations in from yourselves, and whether if you obviously race in the league and you're here and you know what we're about and you enjoy being here and what we do. Obviously we're looking at either £5, it's a £5.60 or a £6.30 or a $6.30, sorry, donation per season, and that's 15 weeks over for one season. That just supports the league in our attempt to grow, to move on to areas and things that we haven't done before and we haven't been able to achieve, such as getting trophies for drivers and constructors champions, getting some hosting on a much nicer website, because I'm sure you guys are aware that obviously we use quite a website that's not particularly optimized for what we're using it for. So it's really trying to make Invictus bigger and better, and with your support hopefully we can really push forward. But of course you don't, you do get something back for your donations. It's not a case of just us taking. We are trying to introduce a lot of perks, and perks that have been discussed so far and that we're hoping to roll out will be the likes of getting yourself on the grid for the next season. You get yourself a guaranteed space, and equally you'll have complete priority when it comes to selecting your car. So that we know that that's one thing that's quite contentious each season, is that people like to either be in the same car, or they have one that possibly they didn't have the last season, they'd like for the next one. If you drop a £5, €5 donation in, you get yourself priority. You can make sure you're in that manufacturer for the next season. We're also going to create a web page on the or what, a web yeah, a page on the website, which will have a wall of fame which you'll go onto, and we're going to keep your records, your Invictus records, whether it be your wins, your poles, your average race position, your average qualifying position. Just get you a little bit more notoriety on the website, and equally we're going to try and look at an ending card to the end of YouTube videos, which, and of course all the streams, which will have a thank you, and you'll put yourself in the hat to win an end of season giveaway. Hoping if we get a big enough intake, we're going to look at start creating some Invictus esport merchandise, and you're in with a chance of winning a giveaway. And yeah, Sab, it's one of those things. It's always nice. Obviously, we want to see the league grow as admins. It's always good to see a positive light reflected upon what we do. So a nice sort of idea from coming out from the team.
Yes, I agree, and like you say, it's all voluntary, this donation system, and it can only benefit us all, really, can't it? It can help grow the website, it can help grow the community, and and make things move forward to that next step where we all want to be. So yeah, it's a great idea, this, and if we can get plenty of people on board and involved, this community, this racing league can only grow bigger and better as the seasons and the websites and everything else grow. So yeah, it's a good idea. I think it can only benefit not only the admin side, but the people racing as well. So yeah, I fully think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and as you say, it's completely voluntary. It's no, there's no advantage to those. Obviously, that they're not be getting any prime positions on the grid when it comes to positioning, but of course they will have a say when it comes to the car choice. So it does benefit you on a sort of a visual sense, but not obviously in a performance sense. So yeah, it would be hugely appreciated for you guys if you do tune in and you do watch and get involved, if you can help us out. And obviously, as Sab said, if you can get the likes of 20, which is a fraction of our community, to donate a £5 every 15 weeks or so, yeah, it would make a huge difference to where we are now and what we can look at doing. And of course, if you do donate or if you don't donate, it doesn't make any difference to us. We appreciate you being here, racing with us, and we will still make the league as engaging as possible for all of you. And equally, it's one of those things where we enjoy all of your company, and we want it to be a safe space for people to come and race, and whether it be in No Assist League or F3 on a Wednesday. It's one of those places where Invictus is what I've from racing in a few leagues is the most mature and definitely the most competitive league. And yeah, I don't know about you, Al. It's definitely a step in the right direction.
I agree. Yeah, and like you say, we want this to be one of the best leagues out there, and it's hopefully it's only going to grow bigger and better, and everybody involved in the league, from our side to just the regular people who's racing week in week out, it's a good community to be part of, and hopefully we can only grow bigger and better.
Absolutely. So yeah, that is, if you want to find out a little bit more, guys, there is a page on the website. Go to theinvictusracingleague.com and go to the Invictus on the hotbar at the top. You can find out a little bit more, and equally their donate button is on that page there. So click that and you will go straight through and you can donate that £5, €5.60 or $6.30. And that would be the £5 limit for the subscription at the moment. So yeah, thanks guys. So equally, if you don't want to do it via that, you can always subscribe to this Twitch channel. We are Twitch affiliated here at the No Assist channel, so you can put in a subscription. If you've got Amazon Prime, you can use a 1 month free subscription. You don't pay a penny, but we get the monetary value. So yeah, it's there's plenty of ways to help us grow, whether it be via the Twitch channel or whether it be via the donation button on the website. So yeah, thanks for everyone. Well, hopefully we'll be able to see this thing get much bigger, and the ball will start rolling on getting some really impressive stuff going on. But now getting into the stuff what you're all here for. And I don't know, where do you want to start, Al? Do you want to go for the calendar first? Do you want to go for the teammates and the car allocations first? Where do we think people want to see us start?
I would, me personally, I would go with the calendar. Looking at it right now, it's quite interesting, and I think, to be honest, I think people would quite like to see where they are racing in the next few weeks. So I would go with that personally.
That is very, very true. And so we will tell you that pre-season starts next week. So you've only got one more week of practice before pre-season starts. So pre-season will commence in the week beginning the 8th of July. And I hope you all brushing up on your Spanish, because the first race of pre-season will be going to the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. So yeah, it's going to be like we see in pre-season testing. We're going to start off our pre-season race here in Barcelona, and a very interesting start to pre-season.
Yes, it is. It's like you say, it's always traditional now, isn't it? That the real F1 season goes here for testing, and it's quite fitting that we also go here for pre-season testing. It's one of those tracks that can definitely get you up to scratch and ready for the new season, but it can also find you out if you're not careful. So it's a good first race to be part of.
Absolutely, the curbs here pretty lethal. Watch out for turn 2. The curb on the inside left now absolutely kills me every time I go around it. So yeah, that is going to be a very, very interesting one to start with. So yeah, pre-season 1 next week will be at Spain. The week after that, so the 15th of July. Don't worry, you're not going to have to learn a second language, but we are going over to Central America, and we are going to the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. So it will be Mexico City will host round 2 of pre-season. So the first 2 pre-season races will be in Spain and in Mexico. So yeah, a very Latin-based pre-season for the guys.
Yes, I'll be honest, I am not a fan of the Mexican Grand Prix track. This is second sector for me. I always struggle through. I remember, I think it was in my Performance League last season, I was going pretty well and just lost it through the middle sector and went to the wall, and that was the end of my race. It's one of those tracks that's got a really long straight down it, hasn't it? It could promote some good overtaking, but that middle sector can be really tricky and can bite you if you're not careful. So yeah, it's going to be a good test before the league starts for everybody involved.
Absolutely, and of course we'll be. Luckily for pre-season, if I can remember correctly, we do use dry weather because it will be just testing out the guys' paces. So unfortunately, we won't be seeing any wet weather like we saw last season in Mexico in the likes of F3 and in the Performance League. So I think that might keep a little bit or keep a few people happy, because that always throws a few cats amongst the pigeons. So yeah, we will be dry for pre-season, but once we get into the race calendar, we will be moving to dynamic weather. So yeah, pre-season 1 Spain, pre-season 2 Mexico. Then we move into the full calendar. So round 1 will take us over to Europe, and it will take us to where we've just seen the best race in a long time, and we will be racing in Spielberg in Austria. So, what do we think, Sab? Round 1, we start at the fastest track in terms of lap time on the F1 calendar. Good start?
Yeah, I think it is a good start. As you've seen in the last weekend with the real F1, you do get a lot of good overtaking here, and it's one of those tracks where qualifying is can be key as well, because you can trip over people quite easily. So yeah, Austria it's a good track. It's a good traditional track with loads of gravel runoff. So if you do make a mistake, you're going to get punished. So yeah, excuse me, I'm looking forward to getting on the track there for the first race.
Yeah, absolutely. So Austria, round one. It's going to be very interesting. I yeah, big fan of this track. It does promote a lot of overtaking, close racing, qualifying. It's always interesting because it's such a short lap time. If you make one mistake, it can really hurt you. And we often see quite a few strategy changes around here, and the undercut can work and can work very nicely. And equally, the one and the two stop both work around here. So yeah, Austria is going to open the season in incredibly quick fashion. But then round two is the one that we've all got our eyes on, and it hasn't been on the calendar for a long, long time. But we hope you like the glitz. We hope you like the glamour, because we're going to Monaco, and we're going to one of the trickiest circuits in F1, and we're hitting the streets of Monte Carlo. What do you think, Sam?
I kind of cried on the inside, I'll be honest. I've never ever been a fan of Monaco on the games. I've just never been able to get used to it. Obviously, I'm going to have to get plenty of practice in for this because it's one of those tracks that it will bite you if you are not 100% concentrating on this circuit. It's like you say, it's not been on the calendar for such a long time now, so it's going to be very interesting, especially the second race in the season. Talk about diving into the deep end into your career of online racing straight away, because this is one tough track. For me, the toughest track, because you just cannot make a mistake around here, otherwise you are going to be punished.
Yeah, absolutely. 50% around the streets of Monaco. It's going to be incredibly tricky. It's going to be a case of driver concentration. It's going to be throughout, or through the roof, I should say. That first run into Saint Devote at the start of the race is going to be absolutely fascinating. And possibly the pit crew's working overtime and bring a couple of extra spare front wings with you, because I think it's going to be a very, very interesting race. So these guys on the grid are going to have to really practice their stuff here for the Monte Carlo Grand Prix, because yeah, round two will be in Monaco. As SJC says, please do not let it rain. And yeah, well, unless you fancy yourself a little bit of an Ayrton Senna run through the track, I would agree with you. So on to round three, and another track that promotes good racing on the game, maybe not so much in real life, and that's Paul Ricard. So round three, we go to France, and we go to a circuit that will boggle the eyes with bright colours, and but it's one of those tracks that we missed it. I believe we missed it last season. It was on the calendar before that, but it's there's a couple of positions on track that are decent for overtaking. Stab, what do you think of Paul Ricard?
I like it, like you just said, I like it racing on the game, not so much watching it on the TV. I tell you, you cannot get something completely different to the race before, can you? You've gone from a track where there's pretty much no runoff to a track where you've got miles upon miles of runoff, and you can make your own track up on the runoff. It's going to be very interesting, Paul Ricard. I've had a couple of good races myself around here. I personally do enjoy racing around here, so yeah, I'm glad to see it's on the calendar, and I look forward to racing around here. It has the opportunity for overtakes in certain places as well, so yeah, good fast flowing track that should provide us some good racing action.
Yeah, absolutely. Some incredibly fast corners there. So yeah, round three will be in France. So round four, we move to the land of the rising sun, and you all know it, and that's Suzuka in Japan. So the only figure eight F1 calendar circuit, of course, incredibly famous moments we've had here in F1 over the last few seasons, and yeah, it's one of the fan favourites, Suzuka.
It is. It's one of my favourites on any calendar, really. It's such an iconic circuit, isn't it? You've had so many amazing moments, not only in the real F1 but in the game as well. So it's definitely a good sight to see this race circuit on the calendar.
Absolutely. So on to round five. So that will be on the 19th of August. We move back over. Well, I say back over, a little bit further over, but this time we're going down to South America, and we're off to Interlagos for the Brazilian Grand Prix for round 5. So Brazil, another one of the quick laps, a lap time around here, around 1.10 ish, depending on your speed. But yeah, it's another track that you can get some good overtakes on, but you'll see some incredibly close races around here.
Yeah, we've seen some great races on this track in the past. I look forward to racing on here myself. It's another track I do like. Like you say, it's a very fast flowing track that does promote good overtaking, especially after the center S's and down that long DRS straight. You can get some good late dives down there. So yeah, looking forward to racing on there. It's a good track to have.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen some pretty eye-watering moments around Brazil in the last few seasons when it's been on the calendar. Of course, F3 2 seasons ago, you had Colin Jay was about to win the championship in F3, was on the final lap, but unfortunately crashed out and gifted Spud the championship on the last lap with about 6 corners left to go. So yeah, some painful memories for the likes of Colin Jay as he makes his first return in Invictus back to Brazil. But yeah, that will be round 5. Round 6 on the 26th of August will take us to the Ardennes Forest and the famous and iconic Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. So off to Belgium for round 6.
You can't have a calendar without it, surely, can you? It's probably up there with Monaco in terms of the most iconic race circuits on a calendar. It's absolutely fantastic to race round there. If you can nail a lap in qualifying, it feels so good. But if you don't get quite right at say Eau Rouge or Radion or anywhere like that, you're gonna get it biting you, and it's another one of the traditional tracks we all love. So yeah, it's brilliant to see Spa on the track, and you never know what weather you're gonna get for it either.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen some absolutely mega races around here in the last few seasons. We saw a 3 wide here in no assists recently up through the Kemmel Straight on the first lap. So yeah, you never know what you're going to see around Belgium. Incredibly tricky circuit, incredibly different conditions can be from one session to another. So you might see completely crystal blue skies on a Monday night, but by Wednesday night it might be absolutely pouring with rain. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to find out what goes on at Spa for round 6. We then have a 1 week break at the end of August, so you get 1 week off to relax and recharge, getting ready for the second half of the season. So round 7, then takes us down under. So we go back down all the way to the start of the calendar, and we go to Melbourne. We head down to Australia, which Slab, of course, you've attended a few times before. What do you think of Australia?
I love Australia. I wish it was more accessible to a lot of my friends. It's such a great street circuit. It's tough. The walls can be close in certain areas, but you can if it's not as easy to overtake at some circuits, but you can get some overtakes done if you're clever about it. It is a good track and usually promotes some good close racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Australia, it's tricky to get those overtakes done, but once they are, it feels like quite a fast circuit. You really have to lock in a lap, but if you do, it does feel very, very nice around there. Round 8 is on the 16th of September, and we go over to Shanghai, and it's the Chinese Grand Prix, the longest pure straight in F1 at just over a mile. And yeah, another circuit that's thrown up some absolutely quality races in the past.
Yes, it definitely has. I'm not a particularly big fan of the Chinese Grand Prix, but I've seen with you and in other leagues as well, we've had some great races on here, so no doubt we'll probably see more great races again this upcoming season.
Absolutely. On to round 9, 23rd of September, and we go back one race and we go to the Bahraini International Circuit for the race under the lights, and a staple on the Invictus calendar because it's thrown up some incredible races in the last few seasons. So Bahrain, it's one of my favourites actually. What do you think of it?
I agree. It is a great race, especially nowadays when it's under the lights. It looks fantastic as well, and like you said, they've had some great races in Invictus on that circuit. So I cannot wait to see how they get along this season and how I get along as well.
So yeah, looking forward to that one. Of course, that will be coming round 9, so you've got to wait until late September for that one. after that, we head back to the streets, and this time it's going to be over to Singapore, another night race, another street circuit. So it's going to be the Singapore Grand Prix at Marina Bay. So round 10, 30th September takes us to Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore's another good street circuit. Again, similar in its ways to Monaco. You've got walls right up next to you. You will get bit hard if you do make a mistake, but it's a bit more forgiving than Monaco, isn't it? Does promote good overtaking, close races as well. I've seen some great races here. This is a good track to have on. I do like racing at Singapore, even though I've made a few mistakes around here before. But yeah, looking forward to getting stuck in at Singapore.
Yep, it's going to be a good one. Off to round 11, and we're back over to North America. This time it's going to be the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and we're off to the Canadian Grand Prix, another street circuit. So we're very street circuit heavy this season, and we're really testing out our drivers' patience and concentration. And of course, you've got the dreaded wall of champions to finish off the lap. And Sav, do you reckon you can stay away from that wall?
I will try. It always seems so inviting, doesn't it, that wall? It just kind of tempts you in, and then next minute you've lost the front wing or you've lost the wheel. It's a good track, the Canadian Grand Prix. I absolutely love the Canadian Grand Prix. One day, hopefully, get to go, but it should be great. It's a great addition to the calendar. Another great circuit so far, apart from one circuit. I'm not going to tell you which one. Great calendar so far, apart from one.
Yeah, I can only guess which one you're thinking. And we then finish off the season on the 14th of October by going to Hockenheim, and we're off to Germany. A track that we missed off the calendar last season was on the start of F1 2018, and Germany promotes very close racing. We've seen a couple of decent places to overtake, so it's a good place to end the season because you might see a couple of lunges down into the hairpin, into the second sector.
Yeah, it is, and Germany sometimes often brings mixed conditions as well, which could definitely spice it up for end of season battle. It's a good track. I do like Hockenheim. It is a good track, so it's a good end to the season. I think with that track, it's could definitely see some titles won and lost on that final race.
Absolutely. So that is your calendar for the entire season, guys. So you've got pre-season 1 is in Spain, pre-season 2 is in Mexico. That is on the 8th of July and the 15th of July, respectively. Round 1 is Austria. Round 2 is in Monaco. Round 3 is in France. Round 4, Japan. Round 5 is in Brazil. Round 6 is in Belgium. Round 7, Australia. Round 8, China. Round 9, Bahrain. Round 10, Singapore. Round 11, Canada. And the final round of the season will be in Germany. So, on a whole, Sab, pretty decent calendar. Obviously, as you just said, you're not looking forward to one of the races, which, of course, I would suggest is possibly Singapore, Canada, Germany, Japan, Brazil.
Yeah, you got it. It is a good calendar. There's a lot of tracks on there which definitely promote overtaking and close racing, so it should be really exciting to watch and be part of this season.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you missed any of that, guys, the calendar will be up on the website as soon as the stream comes down. So you can go to invictusracingleague.com where you can find out. And equally, it will be posted into all of the F1 chats. So if you're involved in any of the PS4 chats, that will be posted in here. But now we move on to the allocations, and obviously you guys want to know what cars you will be driving for the leagues over the next 15 or so weeks. And so we will start on Monday nights, and we'll start with the No Assist Championship. And of course, Scott, boy better know SB, and Joel V520, they are the reigning, Scott's the reigning Drivers' Championship, and equally himself and Joel are the reigning Constructors' Champions, and they will stay as part of the Mercedes-AMG Petronas team, so they will stay in the Silver Arrows moving forward. So yeah, Scott, he's a very, very quick guy, and sitting in the car that looks very sleek and very quick, and I'm sure he'll be delighted with that.
He will be delighted with that. He got 6 wins last season, didn't he? And he definitely is the man to watch next season in that league. the guys in the other teams will definitely be looking to try and challenge him for the title and constructors title. Joel, his teammates, will want to probably just step up a bit more and be able to fight closer with his teammate next season. Hopefully, his sake he can. And yeah, good team there. And I have high hopes. Well, I expect them. Sorry, I should say to be high up in the standings towards the end of the season. This is a good, strong team.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you were saying, 6 wins for Scott last season. He actually recorded 129 points on the season, which is the highest single points tally that a driver has ever got in Invictus. So, yeah, Scott is definitely looking pretty formidable. So, yeah, moving on to the Ferrari. And it's going to be Speed Queen 80 and CPI Alex B, who will be in the Scuderia Ferrari this season. So Speed Queen, she'll be back hot on the heels of Scott once again, I imagine. She's back in her beloved Maranello team, and unfortunately we're missing out Monza off the season, but I'm sure Speed Queen will be pretty delighted to be back in the red machine and hunting down the silver arrow.
She will, and she'll be wanting to prove a point next season and really get stuck into this new game. She didn't record a single win last season, which is just crazy, really. Someone as consistent and as fast as she is, she will definitely want to be rectifying that in the next season and get some wins and more podiums on a belt for next season to challenge Scott. It's going to be interesting to see how she gets along.
Absolutely. We're on to Aston Martin Red Bull Racing, and it's two rookies to the No Assist League. Of course, they've been in the league for a number of seasons and a number of years, but they're new to the No Assist Championship, and it's going to be MJ Coupe and Meg Lumpy that will be as part of the Red Bull team. So looking forward to these two.
Yeah, I've raced against both of these guys. They're quick drivers. It's going to be interesting to see how they get along in no assist this season. I'm sure once they get into their rhythm and groove of this league, they can be good point scorers. They are fast drivers, and I'm sure they'll be wanting to show everybody in the league what they can do.
Yeah, looking forward to that. Two drivers that will be very hungry to start very nicely in the No Assist League, and I'm sure they will both be pushing themselves to improve each race long. So we now move on to the Renault F1 team with Renault Sport, and it's going to be the team of White Fountain and XD Archie. The two that joined the league at the end of last season with a few races to go in the Force India team and did very nicely.
Yes, they did. It's going to be weird, I think, not seeing them in the bright pink car next season. But these guys came in and definitely shown us how quick they are very quickly. And hopefully, with a bit more luck and a bit more consistency, these can be real challenges for the front and for podiums and wins next season.
Absolutely looking forward to those guys on track. We then move on to the joke team, the Rich Energy Haas F1 team, and you've got two very very quick drivers indeed, and that's Scopefielder and Samu the Fitto. So Sam and Scope make up the Haas team.
I'd say these are probably one of the high favourites as well for either a Drivers' Championship or a Constructors' Championship. Sam was lightning quick at the beginning of last season. Scope, unfortunately, missed a few races, but when he was racing, he was lightning quick as well. So this is a very mouth-watering lineup.
Yeah, if only they can get their hands on some Rich Energy drinks, they might go even quicker. So then we move on to Sab's beloved. We're on to the Papaya McLarens, and it's going to be Dragio and M. Doran that will be driving the McLarens next season. So Dragio, rookie to the league, M. Doran was in it last season. So an interesting pair-up.
It is an interesting pair. Let's see. I honestly, I'll be honest, don't know much about them, but I've seen M. Doran a few times racing, and if they can find the feet quite quickly together as a team, they could do something this season. It'd be interesting to see how they get along, especially the new rookie as well.
Absolutely. On to the SP Sport Pacer Score Racing Point F1 team, and that's going to be a singular driver for now. Of course, we've got one space left in the league in no assist, and that's going to be Nicky 9095, who's potentially going to be missing a few races. But Nicky, always good shout for decent points and possibly a podium every now and then.
Yeah, Nick is a solid driver. Like you say, always been able to score good points and potential podiums. So it's a shame for him that he'll be able to miss a few races and he's only on his own as a teammate. But hopefully, when he does turn up, he can give us some good races, what we've seen him do before.
Absolutely. On to Alfa Romeo Racing, the beautifully liveried Alfa Romeo, and it's going to be the team of Nick L.J. Thompson and SJD. They will be heading up the Alphas for next season. So another very interesting team. Nick new to the league. SJD he's done Gnosis for a while and has picked up some good results in Gnosis as well. So he's definitely a good teacher and a good mentor for Nick entering the league.
Yeah, definitely. And Nick's a solid driver. Again, raced with him a few times. He's very fast. I'm sure, like I said with the others, if once he finds his feet and gets comfortable with no assists, I'm sure he'll be challenging for good points next season with his pace. It'd be interesting to see how these two do next season.
Yep, will be really, really good to see those guys improve, and I expect to see some decent results out of both of them. Heading on to the Red Bull Toro Rosso Honda, and you've got Tony Y and Humbostone. So Humbostone, the race winner in Italy, last race of last season. Hopefully he'll look to start off next season in a similar form, and with Tony Y alongside him, the Toro Rosso have got two very interesting drivers.
Yes, yeah, Humberstone thoroughly deserved that win, final race of the season last season. He got strategy bang on and come out with a good race victory. Like you say, we want to take that form into pre-season next week and hopefully into the first race. Humberstone and Tony White, good pair up there. It'd be good to see him racing next season.
And then finally, onto the Rocket Williams racing car, and it's going to be the final two left in, and it's FTL Charlie and Phil MCFC. They will be part of the Rocket Racing Williams car next season, and that rounds out the grid, and a very, very competitive looking Gnosis grid this season.
It really is. It's going to be interesting to see how they get along. It's too tough to call on who you could probably go with a favourite, but at the minute I would just have to say the reigning champion, Scott, at the minute. But there's so many drivers in there who could potentially challenge for the Drivers' Championship next season. I cannot wait to commentate on this.
Yep, cannot wait for that one. So that starts, obviously, pre-season starts next Monday for those guys. So tune in on Monday night here on this channel, 8 p.m. for the start of pre-season, see what the guys are getting up to there. We now move on to the Performance League. Of course, these guys, they will be allocated their car based on the performance during pre-season. So pre-season in performance will be on equal performance, and then when we get into the actual calendar, that's when you will move into performance. So no car allocations for those drivers, but we do have some driver pairings. So you've got the Maserati team of Scopefielder and Skyzy. So Skyzy, one of the reigning champions in the Performance League. Of course, Performance 1 and 2 have now been merged into one Super Performance League, and some really, really fast drivers. So Scopefielder and Skyzy heading up one team. Sab, you're in a team with TL44S or Tom444444 if you're Malk, and you'll be known as TL Sab. So looking forward to seeing that team there, because Tom's a very quick driver on his day. You've got PB Racing, Mr. P80 and Luke Bailey. They're back paired up once again. So PB Racing back on the track. You've got Waventel, Ton Albanak, formerly known as Waventel. He's teaming up with Aaron J. Spence in the Lotus BMW team. So another very, very interesting team there. Aaron, very quick last season, and then you can never count out Ton Albanak for picking up some decent results. You've got the second reigning champion involved in the league, that's Meg Lugby. He is going to be teaming with Jos, and those will be known as Team JMR. So Team JMR, very, very tricky to beat. You've got Scott and XD Archie, known as Scarchy. I think they should have been called Scorch. I think that would have sounded better. Scarchy will be their team name. So you got Scott, so boy better know, and XD Archie. Nitro Gash and Mike XXI will be a team, and I couldn't think of a name for those guys. Didn't drop a name in, so I'm going to go for Antiquity Motors, or possibly just Old Men in Cars will be a good one for those guys. You've got Rick Astley Racing, SJD and Energy Dan, so those guys teaming up for the Performance League. Very interesting to see SJD there. He's going to have to show the light for Dan, who's been improving. Sorry, a lot since he joined Invictus, and it's really good to see Dan in the Performance League, and hopefully he can pick up some good points and move on to get some great confidence. And he'll be challenged by the likes of Briggsy 500 and Dragio in a team, and they equally didn't have a team name just yet, so I've called them Dre 500 Sport. So that's your team name for now, guys. And then your final team is Colin J and Spud. So Spud and Colin teaming up. So some interesting driving pairings.
Very interesting. I don't know whether to cry or laugh looking at that. There's some super quick guys in there for me to go up against. I cannot wait to see how he gets along. Performance always brings good racing, and yeah, it's gonna be a good one to watch that next season. So many quick drivers in there. It's just too difficult to pick any out as a standout.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got plenty of opportunity for guys to improve, to get shock results, and we've seen in the past several drivers picking up wins. Of course, famously in F1 2018, in the first season of the Performance League, you had 9 race winners in the first 9 races, and then 10 different race winners in a 12-race calendar. So, yeah, there is definitely opportunity for you guys, even if you think that there's quick drivers on the grid, to get ahead and get some decent points and race wins there. So don't be afraid to really go for it in the Performance League. And yeah, you've got the likes of Skyzy, Scopefield and Meg Lugby, but you've got some very, very quick drivers on grid. So yeah, the Performance League looking like it's going to be a fascinating one to watch on Tuesday nights. Moving on to Wednesdays now, and we've got the Equal Performance League. So we'll start with F1, and I'll scroll back through and we'll start back at the start. So we're going to go to Mercedes. Mercedes will start off F1 on Wednesday nights, and it's Phil MCFC and Enpine 35. So they'll be heading up the Mercedes AMG Petronas team. So nicely there for Phil. He drops himself into one of the nicest looking constructors on the grid. Into Ferrari, and it's going to be Nikki 9095 and M Doran 09. So M Doran and Nikki teaming up, and that's a strong looking pair for those two. Of course, both picked up some nice results in F1 last season. Moving over to Aston Martin Red Bull Racing, and it's going to be the team of Meg Lugby and Ton Albanach, so formerly known as Wave and Tail. So Meg and Ton Albanach heading up Red Bull. So once again, another strong pairing between those guys. Renault is going to be the current champion in F1, and that's Scopefielder and Yoss. So maintaining their position as reigning drivers and constructors champions from last season in the Renault. They're sticking with the French manufacturer, so another strong pairing between Scope and Yoss. The Rich Energy Haas team, that's going to be ex-Rossi 21 and Mr. Stim making his return back to Invictus after some time away, and he'll be sitting in the American constructor heading off the grid as we start next week in Spain. We then move on to McLaren. McLaren will be Sammy Vipito and Ben Musket. So Sam and Ben, another very strong pairing, and we've seen them picking up some decent results. Sam on Monday nights and Ben on Tuesday nights especially. So those two very, very nicely placed in McLaren, and I'm sure the guys at Woking will be delighted to have them on board. We then go to Sport Pacer Racing Point F1 team, and that is going to be Acing 99 and CPI Alex B. So Acing and Alex will be sitting as part of the Pink Panther team, and they will make up the Sport Pacer Racing Point. Alfa Romeo will be Foxy Red 2000 and XD Archie. So XD Archie teaming up with Foxy Red 2000. Foxy, of course, he pretty much was the master in between the seasons around Monaco. So look to him for a decent charge around the streets of Monte Carlo for round 2. So yeah, Foxy Red I'm sure will be pretty happy to try and drag this Alfa Romeo around those streets pretty quickly, and I'm sure Archie will be trying to stick with him and make it a 1-2 for Alpha. Toro Rosso, that's going to be Speed Queen 80 and White Fountain, so a very interesting team up there. Speed Queen 80 and White Fountain teaming up in the Toro Rosso Honda. And then finally, you've got Williams, and that's going to be X Marquez's X. So very, very quick driver. You see him at the top of the leaderboards on the TT a lot of the time. So yeah, X Marquez's X. He is going to be absolutely mega fast, and he's the only driver sitting in the Rocket Williams Racing. So F1 looking very full, but also looking very competitive.
It is very competitive. As you were reeling the names off there, there's so many good team lineups there. Scopefield and Yoss, very good team there. As you say, the reigning champions. It's going to be fascinating to see the F1 next season. Speed Queen, Foxy Red, Sam. There's so many fast drivers in that league. It's going to be very good to watch. I cannot wait to see that.
Yep, cannot wait to see what the guys in F1 can do next season. Of course, M. Doran won the season opener in Bahrain last season by the closest ever margin of victory in Invictus, and that was by 15 thousandths of a second. So that's the speed we can see those guys, and that's how competitive it is here. So yeah, 15 thousandths of a second. You've got the likes of Foxy Red, who holds the record for the most points scored in equal performance with 115, and then you've got Speed Queen, of course. She's a 3-time no assist champion. Hasn't won in F1 since the first season on F1 2017, so she's definitely due a win back in the Equal Performance League. But Speed Queen, always a good shout for a decent attack at the race lead and a win. Now on to F2. And F2, another league that's looking incredibly stacked with talent so far this season. And we start off with the Mercedes-AMG Petronas Motorsport team, and that is going to be Sir Spud and Colin J. So Spud and Colin will be sitting in the Mercedes for next season. The Scuderia Ferrari team, that's going to be your reigning F2 champion Nick L.J. Thompson and Mike S.I. So Mike still sits in the Ferrari. He retains his seat that he had in F3, moves up to F2, and he's going to partner with Nick as the two sit in the Ferraris and look to push for the Constructors' Championship. And I'm sure Nick will look to try and go for a second consecutive F2 championship. Red Bull, that's going to be MJ Coupe and the returning No Fudge for You. Hasn't been in the league for a few seasons, but No Fudge back. He partners with MJ Coupe back in his beloved Red Bull. So yeah, MJ Coupe and No Fudge making up the team from Milton Keynes. The Renault Sport team, that will be Partridge 99 and Victor Haas 1108. So Partridge 99, a very quick driver. He's flashed up some decent times in the past, and equally Victor has been very competitive, and looking forward to seeing what those guys can do as part of the Renault team. Haas will be Craig, so the site director, Craig 8728, and Humbostone. So Craig and Humbostone will sit in the Haas for next season. So another very quick pairing there. We move on to McLaren, and it's going to be myself, promoted from F3 last season. I will be in the McLaren alongside Aaron J. Spence. So me and Aaron will be sitting in the McLaren. So yeah, it's going to be representing your boys from Woking there, and yeah, it's going to be a good season hopefully. And Aaron looking mighty fast in the testing in the first few races so far on the game. So yeah, look forward to seeing what Aaron can do. On to Racing Point, and that is going to be, going through my list, Racing Point is going to be Tony Y and Tanker 903, rookie to league Tanker 903. So yeah, Tony Y and Tanker, part of the Racing Point team. So another decent pairing there, slightly unknown of course with a rookie of Tanker, and Tony Y, he's always good money for decent results. On to Alfa Romeo, and that's going to be Mr. P80 and the Warislander. So Mr. P80, another quick driver. The Warislander, very consistent. We've seen those guys up in the points in both Monday nights, Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights. So yeah, both those guys will be sitting as part of Alfa Romeo Racing next season. On to Toro Rosso, and Toro Rosso boys will be Never Miss and Rudy Mandragorex. So Rudy and Never Miss making up the Toro Rossos. And then finally, you've got the Williams, and that will be Steen 13 and Tynus Optionil. So the two guys from across the British Channel will be making up the Williams team. So F2 there, and it'll be me sitting in F2 this season. So I'm sure you know a few of the drivers that are racing in it, Sab. But what do you think from what we've seen so far with F2? There's some pretty tasty looking driver pair ups there.
It's very competitive, that league. Like you say, I've raced with quite a few of these guys. Raced with yourself as well. I don't envy you. I have to admit it's going to be a tough challenge for you, but I'm sure it's a tough challenge you will rise to, and you'll have a good go at. It's going to be very interesting to see how that league gets on. Nick, the reigning champion, he'll be, like you say, wanting to retain his championship next season. You've got likes of yourself and Mike coming up this season. It's going to be interesting to see. There's some good driver pairings as well there. So yeah, another competitive league there. It's going to be really interesting to watch that.
Yep, and having looked through the list of drivers there, you've actually got 10 drivers, so half the grid have been race winners as part of Invictus. So you've got plenty of talent in there, and equally it involves 4 equal league champions, whether that be F3 or F2. So you've got Nick, myself, Spud, and No Fudge have all been equal performance champions. So yeah, plenty of silverware in F2 this season, so it's going to be incredibly tricky. And I'm sure, as Dan says, he's going to love commentating on this one. It's going to be really competitive for those guys. And now on to the final league of Wednesday nights, and that's F3. And of course, Sab, you'll be as part of F3 this season as the league admin. And the teams once again looking absolutely stacked. And you've got we'll go to all the way back to the start, and we'll go to Mercedes. And Mercedes will be the rookie driver of Shabs Ien and BWA Clyde. So they will be part of the Mercedes AMG Petronas team. So yeah, Shabs Ien, BWA Clyde, part of Mercedes. So Shabs, an unknown quantity, of course, rookie driver to the league. Clyde, we know that he can pick up some decent results when he's on form. So yeah, Clyde returning back to the league after taking a half-season sabbatical last season. Shabs, it will be. We'll see what his pace is like when we head to Barcelona next week. We move on to Ferrari, and it's O. Stevens 002 and Briggsy 500. So yeah, O. Steven and Briggsy making up the Scuderia Ferrari team. And O. Steven, he's definitely been one of the most improved drivers in the last few seasons. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what O. Steven can do. He tripled his point score from what he'd had in the previous season last season. So yeah. He seems to be doing very nicely in pre-season testing already. So yeah, O. Steven looking like a possible dark horse for a push at the F3 Championship this season. We go to Red Bull, and you've got Synchronously and Luke Bailey 14. So Luke making his jump to the Equal Performance League. You've got Synchronously equally joining the Equal Performance League. So both have raced in performance, now heading over to Wednesday nights. Very interesting to see what the pair can do as part of the Aston Martin Red Bull Racing team. Renault Sport, that will be Bougie 89 and the Willow 97, both race winners in F3. Both have done very nicely in the past. Of course, Bougie picked up in his debut race a few seasons ago, picked up pole in France the last time we were at Paul Ricard. So Bougie looked to him to be quick around that circuit, and equally the Willow, you can never count out him for a decent push up the standings and the order. So yeah, a very strong pairing between the two there. You go to Haas, and you've got Nitrogash and Brennon. So the two sticking as a team, and they've been a team for the last few seasons. But yeah, Nitrogash and Brennon's two very strong drivers, and will look to pick up some decent results. McLaren will be Ferocious Dan and F1 Richard 67, retaining their position in the McLarens once again. Of course, they will look for a second Constructors Championship in 3 seasons. They just missed out to the Williams last season. But those two have been joined at the hip for the last few seasons. and it's going to be very interesting. In fact, F1 Richard, he's actually scored the most amount of podiums in F3 without a win, so he's had 7 podiums so far in F3, yet to stand on the top step of the podium. So F1 Richard will definitely look at breaking that duck heading into the season. And we'll look at the Sport Pacer Racing Point team, and that will be 2 rookies. You've got Fly By Night and DMAC 108. So DMAC, he's in the comments right now, he's having a look. You're going to be sitting as part of the Sport Pacer Racing Point F1 team, so we hope you like pink, because you'll be seeing it a lot. And off to Alpha and Alfa Romeo, that'll be yourself, Sab7786, and joining you in the team will be Tejua. So Tom, Tejua86, will be part of the Alfa Romeo team. Toro Rosso, that will be the team sticking together once again, but moving over to a different constructor, and that'll be Snoop Markey and Steel BL60X, so 66. So yeah, Steel and Snoop picking up the positions inside the Toro Rosso team, and both very strong drivers. We've seen Snoop pick up a race win. Steel was incredibly strong at the end of last season, was running in the top 3 quite often. So yeah, those two will be looking at a constructors push late in the season. And finally, we end at Williams, and it will be another all rookie team of Actaliken, EU, and Hixie 123. So Actaliken and Hixie will be part of the Rocket Williams racing team. And yeah, it seems at F3 there's a lot of unknown quantities, a lot of rookie drivers, but equally you've got a lot of guys there in teams that will be very competitive.
Yeah, I agree. I was just looking through the list there. Snoop, Markey, and Steele are definitely a strong lineup, as well as Ferocious Dan and F1 Richard. I'm looking forward to battling with those guys next season. I'm also looking forward to teaming up with Tej this season. Me and him have spoken in the past about teaming up, and this season we finally get to team up. So it'd be good to see how we get on next season in the league, and see how many points and possible podiums or even wins, if possible, we can pick up next season. But yeah, it's like you say, some unknown quantities in there, but there's also some quick guys for that league in there as well. So it's going to be a good league to be part of next season for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. F3, sorry, looking very, very strong indeed. You've got a lot of drivers there that are well equipped to make a decent push, and F3 seemingly one of those leagues where consistency is key. And looking back over last season, only myself and Mike scored in every race of the season. Unfortunately, Stephen crashed out in Italy. He would have been the third of the drivers. And of course, I took the F3 championship with Mike not far behind. So it really shows in F3 that if you can pick up points every race, you're decent, or you're with a decent shout of a push towards the championship. So,
yes, you are. Sorry, I was reading some of the facts there. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, you're right. Consistency is key in this league. Yourself and Mike definitely proved that. I'm hoping myself, for my personal self, next season that I can be more consistent and pick up the points and be more regular in the points for next season to be able to push close to the top of the table. Yeah, it's going to be a good season next season. I can't wait to get involved.
So that is your allocations, guys. That's your calendar, your teammates, and your car allocations done for this stream. And like I said, pre-season will start next week, the week commencing the 8th of July in Barcelona at the Spanish Grand Prix. Round 1 will be in Austria on the 22nd of July. So make sure, if you have missed any of the allocations, they'll be posted on the website, invictusracingleague.com. Equally, they'll be put into all of your PS4 chats. So make sure you ask your admins if you need any questions answered. And equally, like I said before, if you want to help us and support us, go to the Invictus, one of the section on the website where you can go and donate and get yourself in the chance of getting some decent perks, and equally helping our league to grow. And what we will do, guys, because we are running a little bit long tonight, is we will put off speaking about some of the IRL Invictus, IRL Formula 1 stuff that we were going to talk about, and that was the likes of the Austrian Grand Prix. We'll leave that until next week, where we'll do a quick recap of what we thought with the Max and Charles incident. Equally, I'd like to talk about Lando Norris and I'm sure we'll be building up to the British Grand Prix. So that will be next week, but we'll be moving to Thursdays because, of course, we will have the Performance League on Tuesday. So we'll be moving to Thursday nights for the podcast. But make sure you stay tuned on all social media channels and in the PS4 chats, where we'll announce all of the stream details as and when we know it. So what we will do to finish up with, though, is, and I'm sure he thinks he got out of it, we will ask Sab the big question. And
Right.
if you're new to the league, and if you're new to the podcast, sorry, the big question we ask Sav each week, he gets 1 minute where he gets asked a question where he has to give his answer, and he has 1 minute to explain why he's given that answer. He's done very well in the first few weeks, and this one I'd like to see. This is going to be a fascinating one for me, for someone that's is so ingrained with the team that he is. Of course, if you don't know already, Sab is an absolutely fanatical McLaren fan. And so, therefore, Sab, with your 1 minute on the clock to round out the podcast, I'd like you to tell me who the best world champion that has come out of McLaren is and why.
Wow. Wow. Well, the obvious answer I'd probably say is Ayrton Senna. He was absolutely phenomenal for me. I would say Ayrton Senna is the majority. From my own personal opinion, I would go with Mika Hakkinen. Mika gave it to a dominant Michael Schumacher at that time, and he was absolutely phenomenal when he was in that McLaren. The flying finish is known, but for me it's between them two, Ayrton Senna or Mika Hakkinen, just because of what they achieved. Ayrton Senna absolutely amazing in the MP44, for example, and Mika doing what he did against Michael in the late 90s, early 2000s. So any of them two for me.
Oh, I don't know if that's an answer. That seems to be 2 out of 1. I think you.
Okay. My own personal choice, I will go with Mika Hakkinen.
Oh, there we go. So, Mika Hakkinen, the all-time greatest McLaren world champion. Do you guys agree? Let us know in the comments. Let us know on Twitter. You can go to Invictus, at InvictusRL on Twitter and Instagram, Invictus Racing League on Facebook, or you can follow us at GT2_driving for me, at Alan Sabatino for Al, where you can give him some grief if you think that perhaps the likes of you thought there were some other guys in the history of McLaren that have come out with some. Of course, you've got the famous Lewis Hamilton. I think would disagree with you there, but of course, yeah, you do have some fantastic racers and champions as part of McLaren. So yeah, congratulations to everyone that has joined us that are sitting in the constructors they were hoping for. And we look forward to seeing you all on the grid from next week. And yeah, like I said, subscribe to the Twitch channel if you want to see what's happening on Monday nights. You can hear Sab and I warbling on and commentating on the No Assist League. And like I said, go to the website where you can find out all details on the league, get yourself on the grid and get yourself any reserve positions we've got left if you're interested in joining here at Invictus Racing League. And equally, if you'd like to donate, go to the Invictus section on the website where you can find out more and speak to the admins if you've got any questions. But for tonight, thank you very much for joining us. We will see you next week on Thursday for the 5th episode of the Invictus Racing League podcast. And thanks very much for joining me tonight, Sab. It's always good to have you.
Yes, thank you. It's been fun as always. I just did not enjoy that question, but yes, yes, it was very good though. Yes, I cannot wait to hear next week.
Absolutely. So yeah, we'll be back next week, guys. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you're all happy and you're going away buzzing, ready for the season. Let's get it. F1 2019. We'll see you next week.